team 2. Okay, so he has a young roster. He's got a lot of draft capital. There are 5 rounds in the fantasy draft. This is a 12-team PPR super flex. He's tied for 5th place with 3 other teams. So currently he's in the playoffs, but again, he could easily just be knocked out of there. 9-9. He's actually got a real 4-5 record. He's 3rd in points for, 5th in points against. So he's not getting scored on a ton. He is doing a lot of scoring. He's got Kyler Murray coming back, Justin Fields, Ryan Tannehill. You can clearly see why he is 9-9 this season. Again, Tony Pollard, Rashad White, Jahmyr Gibbs, Tank Bigsby, A.J. Brown, Amari Cooper, Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers. So he's got a young room there, kind of a young room. Laporta, Knox, and Freiermuth. And like I said, lots of draft capital over the next 3 years. Where do you start?
Man, you're getting Kyler back. You're getting Fields back next week, most likely, hopefully. If you can somehow win this week, I'm one of those optimists where I don't give up. I just can't. I know when to blow it up and I know when to retool, but man, this team does have potential to make noise in the playoffs if they get in.
Yeah.
Because Kyler could come out and be great. I think we have to wait to see what Kyler does.
So both Kyler and Justin are going to be playing to keep their jobs. They don't want the first overall pick, so they're not going to be settling for, let's just pack it in this season. They're going to be like, I don't want Caleb Williams taking my job, so I'm going to play harder. And hopefully get like the 3rd or 4th pick, and maybe we get Marvin Harrison Jr. or Keon Coleman or somebody like that to improve that roster. So I think they're going to be trying to ball out for the rest of the season. You got 2 very solid quarterback positions right there.
You do. So you don't move those guys. Those guys stay on your roster. Those guys stay still. And it's a very good room. The running back room is also very good. You got young players. Gibbs, White, Pollard is your lead back, and he's not producing this year, but it can still turn around. I can't move him right now because his value is ultra low. I mean, right here, that's a good room right there. Gibbs wasn't being used. That's why this team is struggling right now. And then, of course, Kyler being out and Tannehill being benched. There's a good reason why this team's struggling. A.J. Brown is delivered. Amari Cooper is a good veteran. And Addison and Flowers are 2 young rookies. Like, this team is not bad at all. I would not panic. I would not do anything out of the ordinary. I don't think I would honestly make any kind of moves. If I did make a move, it would get rid of one of those tight ends because I don't like holding 2 tight ends. I like to have 1. I know people are like, I need depth for the bye week and yada, yada, yada. Listen, you got Pat Freiermuth and Laporta. Dawson Knox should be on your IR spot because he's probably going to be out for the rest of the season. So Knox is a non-factor, and I don't think he has no value. He has 0 value because Kincaid, and we don't know Knox's future. I would be trying to remove one of these tight ends. I really would, because people roster these tight ends and you don't use them. They just sit there. I don't know what you can get for a tight end these days because it seems like there's so many average guys like a Freiermuth or Laporta,
He also has Daniel Bellinger on his roster as well. I did not include him.
And for good reason, Justin, for good reason. I know you're on him, but for good reason. This team for me is just you failed this year. You did not, you're not going to be a top team, but next year you will be because you do have your 1st round pick and you will be good. I would not move any of these players. Maybe Pollard if you can, but you won't be able to get the value. Maybe if you want to package Pollard and Cooper to a winning team and just to get some young players or some draft capital out of it, that's the only move I would make because Pollard is going into his year 27, 28, and Cooper is going into the 30s in age-wise. And they are two players that can maybe possibly help a team win now. Your team's not winning now. If you scratch and crawl, you're 3rd in points for. That's great. See, that's tricky, man. When you look at points for, you're like, I can do this. I can win. I look at the leagues I'm in where I'm 4 and 5. Shit show. I'm like, I only have 3 wins, but I know for a fact if I get in the playoffs, I can make damage. That's a big if. That's huge, man. You can't really. Right now is the time to sell because teams are making their push. And this right here, Pollard and Cooper, right off the bat, I would try to move. I would. I don't know about you.
I agree. Cooper is very up and down. Wide receiver 27 so far this season. He has good weeks and then he has bad weeks. But if you can sell him to a team that is ready to compete right now, is ready to win that championship, go for it. Maybe I'll make an offer today for Cooper to go get him in this league. But yeah, Cooper and Pollard would definitely be my trade targets here. And you can either, get another young player. I know this player specifically loves the young players. He was all about the rookies. Even in the draft, he was only drafting rookies practically.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you get maybe you just sell him for draft capital at this point. But
So
I think I mean, like you said, third in points. He's ready to compete right now. He just needs to get in the playoffs at this point because he's outscoring. So you could honestly just get a couple more wins and be fine.
yeah, if you wanted to, if you look at the roster, and it's very important to know your league, to know, this person likes rookies, this person doesn't value draft capital. So if you look at someone like Dave and I, we don't really value draft capital. We do to an extent, but we don't value it as much as the X folks out there or the newcomers to Dynasty, because we realize these first round picks don't hit as often as you guys think. These guys do fall off. These guys do not hit. And it's a 50-50 shot. I mean, if you do your research, you could do your research. Even if you do, you don't know if this player is going to hit or not. Bryce Young is a perfect example. We saw him last night on Thursday Night Football. He is total ass. And I told you guys that he was going to be ass, but it's okay. We'll move on. So it's known. You should know what's going on. Would you trade on this roster Amari Cooper and, let's just say, Tank Bigsby to the ETN guy who rosters ETN? Let's just assume the guy who has ETN is second or first place. Would you do Tank Bigsby and Amari Cooper for a first, just to get him off your team and you get another draft capital?
Yeah.
You would do that?
Yeah, I would do that.
Would you do it first? Would you do it for a second?
I think you're giving up too much at that point, especially if you're ready to compete. Because I think Cooper gives you too much to get a second, unless it's an early second.
That's what I was gonna ask you, because that does matter. People don't understand that.
Yeah, if it's an early second to the shit team, then fine. But if it's a late second to the really good team, who are you drafting at that point?
Would you do it for quarterback 3? So he has Kyler and Fields. So let's say that quarterback 3 is, no one's giving up Sam Howell.
I was about to say Sam Howell.
No one's giving up Sam Howell.
Trevor Lawrence.
No one's giving up Lawrence for that.
Who? Let's see, leaders here. Okay. We're looking at Bryce Young.
No one's giving up Bryce Young.
Kenny Pickett.
No one's giving up Pickett.
Richardson, Watson, Garoppolo.
No one. You wouldn't want to trade for Garoppolo. So I guess the option is no, because there's no one that you would want to. Because that Cooper, I was offered a second round pick for Cooper, but the second round pick would have been like 209, so I declined it. I value Cooper a little bit more than that, but I value him as a late first or early second, and that's just my value on him, because I know he can produce for your team.
You guys watching the show, would you rebuild or retool this? Drop some comments.
Drop some comments. I would retool this. I would not rebuild this.
I think this team is ready to compete. They just got to get over that hump.
You got to get players healthy.
Yeah.
Right now, your 2 quarterbacks were not healthy.
You need to be flying to Arizona. You need to be flying to Chicago and be like, hey, let me help that injured thumb. Let me help that knee.
If you had Ryan Tannehill, why did you not roster Will Levis? And if you had, Justin Fields, why don't you have Bagent? Maybe they do have Bagent. I didn't look at the roster.
He does have Bagent.
Well, there you go. That's
I didn't include him because
that's okay.
Not relevant.
He's not relevant right now, but he is relevant to this team because he had Fields, and that's pretty important to me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, retool this team. This team is actually pretty nice.
Yeah.
Let me get in this league.